Hello and welcome to the RBC Lunch and Learn series presented by the J Herbert Smith Centre. I'm your host Jay, and I'm so excited for all of you to be joining us today. Today's guest is Jolene Johnson, CEO of Wabnaki Maple. Jolene has an extensive work experience of over 18 years in the culinary field, ranging from food preparation and service to management. She's also worked extensively in agriculture industry in free farming management, from planting, fertilizing, and harvesting. And this work has kept her grounded and in touch with the roots and will always be one of her favorite work experiences. In 2013, Jolene took the initiative to establish and operate her own construction company. In doing so, she was the first female entrepreneur to join that industry in the sector in her community. With her construction company established and doing well, she's moved forward in a new direction. In 2017, driven with purpose and passion, Jolene embarked on a new business venture. She launched into the maple syrup industry, developing and marketing value-added maple syrup. She strives and is committed to give back in a positive way with her vision to build a global brand, to help Indigenous communities thrive, and to help and support to preserve our environment for the next generation. So I'm just going to bring Jolene onto the screen here right now. Hi, Jolene. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, hi, Jay. Thank you so much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's great.
No, it's again, thank you so much. It's amazing to have someone join us from a little bit further away from Fredericton and share some of their experiences as an entrepreneur.
Well, like I say, it's absolutely. I'm honored and humbled at the same time to be
Your
to be
audio.
here today. Oh, sorry.
No, absolutely.
Is it working?
No, it's okay. Yeah, we're good. We're good. It just cut out for a split second there. So, can you tell us? I read it over in the bio there, but tell us a bit about when you started your business and what it was like in those early days of bootstrapping and sales and that sort of stuff.
Oh, well, in the early days, absolutely, it was overwhelming because I really hadn't had any, I want to say, previous experience in this particular industry with starting a company and where to begin. So, I knew it off the bat I was going to need a little support or a lot of support in planning, doing our business plan. For one thing, it wasn't quite, complete. But yeah, so I was fortunate enough to connect with the non-for-profit organization called JEDI, which helps support and foster Indigenous entrepreneurs. So that being said, I gained a lot of insight and tools and support through them in planning out and launching the company. Needless to say, I had no idea what it would entail, and it was a huge learning curve for me.
Absolutely. So tell us a bit about that. Tell us a bit about where you started your business, because that seems to be a really big part of your company, your brand, and your identity as Wabnaki Maple. So yeah.
And it goes back quite a ways, but I mean, it was a combination of things. It was some self-discovery and reconnecting to my own Indigenous roots. I hadn't always lived in our communities, and I was raised in non-Indigenous communities for most of my life. So part of it was reconnecting, and where I had some, I want to say, the exposure to the maple syrup industry was with another family member who operates a little sugar bush, my sister, and so I worked seasonally with her in her sugar bush, as well as the agricultural side with Christmas tree farming. And so I knew, like, that was seasonal work, but I loved that work experience and exposure in combination with working in the restaurant and culinary field. I was to a point where I knew there was more. Like, my career at that point was at a standstill, and I wanted to move forward with something that I was more passionate about, which the connection between maple syrup and our Indigenous culture and the history came together, and that's kind of where the movement and the idea and everything we went forward with that. So yeah, lots of seeds were planted, and it took some time to put it together, but that's kind of where it came from.
Okay. And Could you tell us a bit more about the traditions of maple syrup and the culture there? Because it seems very deeply rooted there, and I'm unfortunately not well versed in it. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it.
And I'll be straight right now. I mean, I am still a student, learning a lot about my own culture as well. But what I've learned in regards to the significance with our culture and maple syrup is, it was a source of healing and energy for centuries ago when it was discovered and they would harvest it. They looked forward to that, and it would be celebrated in ceremonies and um, just so many traditions with it. Uh, and I my understanding, and I'm not a scholar on this, but from what I understand, there were a lot of stories and tales of how it was actually discovered by Indigenous people. There's a story with Gluskop. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but anyway. So, and the women, I understand it that it was the women that managed the sugar groves, and they were the ones that did a lot of the work, the hang, making the birch bark baskets and the gathering and keeping fires going for the heated stones to process it back then. So it was just really inspiring to me to learn these things, it, and as far as their source of food and replenishing their own body, it was used for flavoring their wild game and a variety of other usage. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean those are the things that I've discovered about the significance, and those were the pieces that I wanted to share, connected with the maple.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing that with me again. I don't know as much, and I'd like to learn about it because it seems to be part of what you're selling with your product and your brand and everything that you guys do. It's very rooted in that indigenous roots, and I don't know as much about your culture, and I love to just hear it and share it. So thank you for sharing that with me,
Oh,
and the rest
thank
of
you.
us as well, of course. So let's talk about that though. The shift from as I read in the bio, you had your own construction company, and then you shifted to this maple syrup company. And what sort of caused this pivot from one industry to another?
Well, I guess mainly because, like I said, my career in the food, I was still working full time in the food industry while starting the construction company. And I was driven, and I started the company, the construction, because my spouse was already so experienced and skilled in that. And I wanted to do something together with him. Him being the muscle and the brain behind the actual construction, but it wasn't where I found passion. It wasn't what I soon discovered it wasn't something that I loved to do, and so I knew I wanted to pivot and find another venture. So
Awesome. And I know we've got a couple viewers out there that are really glad that you did because they really enjoy your maple syrup products. Um, Amazing. So, were there any lessons though that you pulled from your previous experience with starting that construction business that have helped you in your current one?
I mean, somewhat as far as organizational skills and managing skills, they've helped somewhat in transferring to this other business. But honestly, it's a whole new ball game with this type of business, and there's a lot of I'm still swimming through a lot of the weeds, and so learning every day other tools and things to move us forward. So yeah, I guess, organizational and management did play a role in transitioning to this particular industry. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm writing down notes as we go because I'm
Okay.
really interested and I love just hearing about these sort of stories. I'm gonna pull back for a moment there where you were talking about building your business plan for the first time and getting those resources from Jedi and how that how sort of spurred you to go forward with that.
Mhm.
So a business plan, as you know, and as many people out there know, is not an easy thing to write. So, uh, what sort of advice would you have for aspiring entrepreneurs right now who are looking to start a new business, but feel like that is the most daunting thing
Oh
to
gosh,
build?
absolutely. Ask for help. If there's always someone out there willing to offer the assistance, and whether it's financial literacy in your business plan, or I guess the big message is, if you can find a mentor or a coach or someone that can help guide you to build your plan. I think that's a really big recommendation on my end. I was really fortunate that I had several, and didn't know much about marketing, financial literacy. So pulling all the different, those categories, and putting them into a plan, for me, I was just so overwhelmed, and I didn't really know where to start. So thankfully, like I say, I surrounded myself with the right people, and to support and guide and coach. So that would be my suggestion to anybody starting out as an entrepreneur. You need to seek help from other, subject matter experts, and go from there. It would be my suggestion.
That's awesome, because that really fits with the next two questions I kind of had written down. And just for anyone watching, if you have any questions for Jolene, please feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll be sure to talk about them here as well. As I was about to say, though, like a lot of entrepreneurs start off as a jack of all trades, as you kind of alluded to there. The financial literacy, the marketing, the sales, and all these sorts of things. And not every entrepreneur has the strength in each individual field, and many require a little bit of help from, as you said, mentors.
Mhm.
What sort of resources other than mentors, did you use any other resources to get some of that knowledge and skill set?
Um, the internet, Googling different webinars and things that would come up if they were related to what I was interested in at the time or trying to figure out. Google does help a lot. And but I guess, friends and family too. It's always good to bounce, questions or ideas off other people, and get other perspectives. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mentor, but it may shift or change your idea on something that you thought would go into a plan that really doesn't make sense at the time, or shouldn't. It may fit in later, but also, like, if you've already started a business, I've also had great support from different my partners that like ACOA and DAF. Those folks have been really supportive, and helping to point me in different directions when I needed help on something, whether it's project proposals and things like that. So absolutely, I think it's a matter of just getting out there and asking for help, and searching, and somebody will point you in the right direction. Eventually, you'll get there.
Of course. And I think that's a great piece of advice. Just ask,
Oh,
because
and
I
I should.
know. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. Sorry, no.
Actually, I meant to mention too, the other important people out there are the other entrepreneurs and small business owners, because they've been through a lot, and they most generally have gone through what you might, a challenge that you're looking to. How do you figure it out? Well, they can usually help you out if you connect with the right, entrepreneur. Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, I was just about to reiterate the same thing. Just asking is a big part of being an entrepreneur. And I know, for example, here at the center, when we tell people when they're pitching, always have an ask at the very end, even if it is just, I'm looking for a connection to help me with this one problem, or, if it is a financial ask, there's that as well. But just asking is a really powerful thing, because you never know who's in the audience watching and willing to help share their experiences with you.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
uh, moving from there, from the early days, I know that you won a grant from Fedex in 2018, I believe it was, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how did that help you at that time sort of expand your operation?
Oh my gosh, it helped me significantly. At that time, The challenges as an entrepreneur with a business that's actually located on a First Nation has its own challenges in securing financial funding. And so I was at a point where, I was bootstrapping, we're using, my own personal lines of credits and so forth. But I had a great mentor at the time that, really pushed me out of my comfort zones, and she would, coach me and guide me. Like, you know what, there could be money there. You could pitch this, you could pitch that, go try it. Even though I was like, no, I can't do that. But I ended up applying to this contest, or, so we made it through the first round, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And then the second round, we had to submit another, video and things. And I was shocked when I received the call from Fedex to say that we had won the grand prize. And I, that's where I'm like, now I would encourage people, like, don't hesitate, and don't be afraid to move out of your comfort zone, or disregard, you wouldn't have a chance, because that it's there. You just have to push for it and work for it. So, but that funding really took us over to the next step to secure more inventory and more, things to keep us going, marketing material and things like that. So it was a huge milestone for us when that happened.
Amazing. I remember reading about it a few years back from like Huddle and CBC, and it was a big win for you as an entrepreneur. And I was just really curious as how it really pushed you forward, because
Yeah.
that's a significant chunk of capital to really do some amazing things
Oh my
and
God.
and grow. So just kind of a question about that too. As I'm sort of looking at it about growth. How do you look for new team members, or how many people are on your staff, I guess, is like another way of looking at that too. But
Um,
you know, I know as an entrepreneur myself, I've sometimes find it hard to trust others with letting go of a piece of the company and saying, I need you to help me with this piece. How do you go about, finding people that you can trust to help you build up your idea and your vision?
I guess first thing, I go with my intuition a lot, but I know that you have to base, excuse me, you know, you have to find the right fit. There has to be a certain amount of, skill sets, and that can grow with your company and fit in with your company. Um, and starting out, it was just myself and my spouse, working in the company, and doing, the bottling and so forth. And then we soon, discovered we needed help. So, um, just as of last year, there's just been three of us. I had another team member who really had brought a lot of value to us as our sales and operations coordinator, who, did a lot of the back end of the sales and emails, and just helping me keep up with those pieces while I was focusing on other. So, and just recently, as of last week, we hired another team member to help with that position. And the previous team member moved, and has shifted his role within the company. But again, it's a HR is always a challenge, I think, for any company. But it's doing your homework and making sure that that person is the right fit. With us, that's how I went about it. So, personality, skill sets, experience, it all plays a part. So,
Of course, of course. And sorry, just looking back at some of the notes here. So you said you had a mentor that pushed you out of your comfort zone and made you do some things that might not have been the most comfortable things that you are with. But one of those things sound like pitching. Did you have to pitch your company a lot to some other parties that you weren't necessarily looking at the time?
yes, I did actually. That was a huge challenge for me, because I've always been pretty camera shy, and just not not comfortable at public speaking. So the first pitch that I was kind of pushed towards doing was the Startup Canada pitch that was held back in 2018 in Nova Scotia or Halifax, and it was kind of a dry run, but made it to made it through the first round anyway. But those are the pieces that helped me understand too and navigate through some of like the business world and how it works, because I really had no idea that you had to pitch your business so often to keep it going and get it out there. So
Absolutely. And do you have any tips for people out there looking to pitch their own businesses?
well, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Absolutely.
But yeah, don't be afraid to jump out of your comfort zone, and yeah, people love to hear what you're doing, what you're up to, and there's usually everyone will support you on that. So yeah, encourage that too.
Awesome. When you're looking for a mentor, what do you think is the most important thing to look for?
There has to be a connection, I think, on a personal level first, and trust. Yeah, trust is a big something that you need to have the trust and respect of each other. It's not a one-way relationship. My mentor, that I shouldn't say previous because we still connect, and I often reach out to her on different ideas and thoughts, but it's she's also told me many times too, she's learned from me as well throughout the journey, and so it's a two-way street. So trust and keeping the open channels and communication would be key.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just writing all this down. It's really good advice, and I each interview I do, I write down as much as I can, because it's all wisdom that people are sharing from their own experiences. And again, thank you so much. So, sorry, I'm just going back into some notes here. So sorry. You've grown your operation now to 3 people, and sales. How has COVID? Sorry, is where I was trying to go with this. COVID. How has COVID affected your operations over the last couple of almost over a year now, actually, for most people, really?
Well, I mean, initially when back last March, April last 2020, it was it really it crippled us for a little bit, in the sense that with all the restrictions and different trade shows and events all closing down. One of our main objectives were to get out to more trade shows and events to get our product and brand out there. And so with all those cancellations, it was pretty tricky at that time, but we soon pivoted and transitioned into virtual events and trade shows, because that's where everybody started heading right off the bat, and so we jumped on board with some of those events and recovered as best we could. But yeah, so I mean, it was initially, it was really scary, because I wasn't it's like I didn't know where we were going to head, where we were going to survive this, and we were such a young and new company. But luckily we also had we had our website with a e-commerce already set up and launched. So going forward, people were able to still find us online, and sales continued to we still continue to generate revenue, and so we've been able to survive it, and we're doing well. Like, we're still doing good. So I guess you could say there has been a silver lining, and I try to look at the positive side, or more optimistic side of COVID. Even though I really miss getting out to the events and trade shows and meeting people, and sharing the experience of our story and product. That's that's how it's affected us, but I'm not going to let it hold us back for sure.
Absolutely. No, for sure. And how do you prepare for a virtual event or a trade show? That seems like a completely different experience than, getting the booth set up and all that sort of like physical aspect to it. A virtual one seems a whole different sort of process.
hmm Well, I mean, and so there's different types of trade shows, so to speak. So, I mean, the ones that we've signed on to have been where the platforms already all we've had to do is really send them pictures of our product, and they can they're sent back to our website basically where they can buy the product. Um, I mean, we could get all fancy and go for a virtual booth, but we haven't got there yet. We're doing it a little smaller. So, but yeah, it's not too challenging, and I have a great techie guy on my team that that helps set those things up.
Gotta love those tech nerds. And I
Yeah,
could say that with personal, like if you were to look at some of the technology that I have just sitting around, and
well, I could tell you one thing. That's been one of my weaknesses starting out too was technology. I had no previous purpose to use it, and so I had to learn a lot of different tools, and I'm still learning, but it was very intimidating for me. So still a student.
there's always something new to learn when it comes to technology and the new apps or devices or whatever there happens to be. So sharing your experience with trade shows, do you find that I don't know how you do your normal trade show booths, but is taste part of your experience that you have for people?
Yeah, it definitely was when we first launched, and that's why we started was at farmers markets and community events. We always offered the tasting experience, so I would have my samples out for people to try and walk them through the different flavors and the notes and things, and that's how we get the feedback and what was a more popular, what was I miss that. I miss those conversations in person. Although we still receive a lot of communication and feedback from our customers online, that's how we started. With the virtual, we're not able to do that. So,
Mhm.
um, however, again, it's kind of shifting where we have actually been invited to. I have been invited to participate in a virtual tasting event. So I'm going to be doing a dry run with another company here shortly, and see how that works.
How would that work, if you don't mind me asking? That sounds really interesting to me.
So basically, it would look like the clients or the customers would receive some of our product ahead of time, and I would be walking them through on my end the different flavors and sharing our story to them while they're tasting in their own in their own home or office kind of deal. So the product would be shipped previously, and then yeah, everybody would be join each other in the event
That
virtually.
sounds really cool. If I don't if you don't mind me saying, like that sounds like a really amazing way to get kind of around some of this, can't do it in person, but at least you can,
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was a
narrate.
great
And
idea.
no, that's absolutely amazing, and that's quite an innovation on getting around some of these COVID roadblocks,
Yeah.
as I'll call it. Now, I just want to focus on something there for a moment, though. That you talked about the feedback that you get from customers on this, and I'm just curious, how do you iterate on some of that feedback? How do you take some of the things that people tell you and make changes in your business?
I mean, I can't say that we've really made any changes to the product, so to speak, but we've tried to, for example, one of the feedbacks is on our shipping, for example. That's been a challenge and tricky for us because, the shipping costs can be quite expensive,
Mhm.
especially if you're shipping out west to British Columbia or even, northern Ontario. Because our product is in glass bottles and the syrup, it's the weight and it's so challenging. So a lot of customers can be a little bit deterred with the cost of shipping. And so we kind of accommodated as best we could with offering free shipping over $100 worth of product, so, but there's still a lot of little bugs that we're working at trying to accommodate, and we're trying, listening to our customers and what they need and what would they like to see, as far as even new products. We've had people ask, are you gonna introduce any new products or any flavors? And so, yes, we're looking at that. But so always listening to our customers, um, to make the next decisions. Yeah.
Of course, of course. So, could you tell us about a time where that shipping problem that you mentioned specifically, that you got around it, that you solved some problem for your customers?
Um, well, geez. Typically, for example, so if we had a customer come and email and say, well, one bottle of maple syrup is $19 and the shipping might be $20. The option, that we provide, or information we can provide to them too, which has kind of helped them, was that they can actually buy more than one. If they wanted 2 bottles or 3 bottles, they're still going to pay the same amount of shipping. But then if they buy, go over $100, they're gonna get the free shipping. So, sometimes they maybe not have recognized that just buying, that they could buy more than one bottle and still pay the same amount of shipping. It wasn't going to be any more to them. That'd be one example, I guess, that we've kind of um, tried to help our customers with that challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that yeah, sometimes people just aren't aware of the deal or how the system works. So
Mhm.
that just explaining some stuff to them is a great way to engage with them and also get them potentially to buy some more
Yeah.
product too, right? So I want to shift to something real quick because I was reading over your guys' website and about environment and giving back and that sort of stuff. What are some of the ways that you like to give back to your community yourself, and ways that you like to engage with the environment and that sort of stuff?
Well, the number one thing, it is about, I wanted to provide and create a positive experience through a business and company. And one of the things, for as far as the natural resource in our environment, um, we've got something in the works right now, and we're working at creating our own initiative. But what we've been doing is focusing on environmentally, our glass bottles, eco-friendly glass bottles and packaging, and just being aware of keeping those things aware throughout the company, moving forward, so that we are helping to contribute to our healthy environment for the next generations. And what was the first part of your question? I kind of got distracted.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, for sure. You talk about the next generation and giving back in some ways. So I was just wondering how you give back to the community in ways, and
Yeah.
for the next
I guess,
generation.
the big thing is, again, we're still such a young company, but the goal is to create opportunities and jobs throughout our communities, and fuel the economy, throughout even the province. So those are the ways that my goals to support our communities and help them thrive, and our environment. Like I say, we've got a nice little marketing plan in the works, but I'm not quite ready to release and announce that just yet. So.
I won't push. I didn't ask.
Okay.
uh, Marketing campaigns are quite a difficult thing to set up, and as we said before, Jack, as the head of the company, you tend to have the jack of all trades sort of role. So how did you get more into the marketing mindset to market your product?
It's just, ideas, and thinking things through, and different options and perspective, and bouncing it off our team. Like, everybody's input is important, and everybody has to say, like, because, I might have an idea, and then someone might remind me, oh, what about this? Oh, okay, you're right. That's not going to work. Just so, I just keep an open mind, and I follow my heart and intuition. If it feels right, then I'm going to move forward with it, and that's kind of where I'm at with the marketing. And of course, it's just I wanted to share our and connect others with the culture. So it's like it's all intertwined. It's all our core values and everything throughout the company is there, and that's what I try to follow through with and as guidance. Yeah, maybe I'm not. I may have gotten off topic a little bit, but that's, my mind is it, yeah, racing.
No, for sure. Like, as part marketer myself too, I understand that, you know, the most creative ideas are what grabs people's attention, right? But they also have to align with the message and vision that you're going for. So I understand what you're talking about, where, you know, you have to talk about these visions and also balance it with these creative ideas. So thank you for sharing that. It seems like intuition is a big part of how you move your business forward, and I think that's amazing because you know, you got to trust yourself to make the decisions, to make the right decisions. So again, thank you for sharing that as well. So I know a lot of the people watching and a lot of the people who might tune in later are entrepreneurs themselves, or thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. What do you think that they need to know before they even get started? What should they do before they become an entrepreneur?
Plan. No, you know that there's so many things I could say on that, but I mean, make sure that I guess whatever it is you choose to do, make sure that you have a great strong passion and a why for it. Why are you doing what you're going to do? Um, when you have that love for what you're doing, I feel like it definitely helps you get through and move through the challenges that you may face going forward with your plan and your business. There's been often times where I just, throw my hands up in the air and just like, oh my gosh, this is too hard. But because I have a why, I look at that and it motivates me every time, and I can get through it. And so definitely, make sure that you love what you're doing, and be prepared to put in the long hours. It's not a 9 to 5; it's a 24/7. So those are a couple of the things that I would, you know, say to inspiring entrepreneurs. And anything is possible. Um, it's up to you to make the change and decisions. It's your choices um, to create the change and build the strength with it. Like I just as an example, I was very, I want to say, insecure about myself starting out. But the more I did things and accomplished those small tasks, it helped me grow and built confidence, and this has brought me to where I am today, so that I can continue, to build and grow the company.
Of course, build confidence by doing. You know, you can't become an expert in everything, but you can learn more about each individual task by just getting through them and doing some of those things, right?
That's right.
So I'm just curious, and I know we've kind of talked about it, but I kind of want to hear it in your own words. Um, the why is very important to everything that anyone ever does. Why you do something. Personally, I believe this, and I know a lot of people at the center. We always start with the why. So if you had to put your personal why into a few words, what would it be?
It is all about giving back. It's about giving back to not just to my culture, respecting my ancestors and what I'm doing, and the environment. I have a very strong passion to help support our environment in a positive way. As I said, I don't want to disclose everything right now, but that's why was the culture and our environment is the two main pieces.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And I have another question, and it's just I'm kind of curious. You stated that starting a business in Tobique First Nation is a little bit different than starting at other places. Would you be willing to share what those challenges might be for other entrepreneurs who might be looking?
Um, it the biggest challenge for me was because, well, we needed to secure financial funding and, for operations and working capital. And because of the location, that's what makes it tricky, that it's hard for any, your banking institute, the institutions and the, yeah, it's just really tricky to secure loans until you have some, numbers under your belt, so to speak. And we were just so young, a year in, so no track record. It's really challenging. But moving forward, I think, um, we'll manage okay. But I think that they're still working at. I think the government has lots of programs now, and they're addressing these issues within Indigenous, for Indigenous entrepreneurs and communities. And I'm hoping that, there'll be some more help on that end. Um, but yeah, it's just it's just tricky.
Thank you. Um, I've one other question there, and I'm just kind of curious if there were other youth in the Indigenous community that are looking to become an entrepreneur, what would you want to tell them?
Just, what, follow your spirit and your guide. You do what you love to do, and go find someone that you can, ask questions and learn from, or hang out with that has some experience in that. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. I was really curious, and I want to be respectful, so I just wanted
Yeah.
to ask those few questions there. So I'm gonna open up questions to the community as well. We've been talking for so long, and I don't want to hog all of the time with you as well. So if there are any questions from the community, I'd be more than happy to continue to ask those as we go forward with this as well. We've talked a lot already about your personal why, how you started this maple syrup company in the Tobique First Nation, and how you've grown that company over the last couple of years, and how uh, it hasn't been a one person job. It's been working with others, building a team, finding the right mentors and the right knowledge to help build your company forward, as well as a lot of different things about connecting and trust and respect, and understanding your goals, and just planning out your whole business, and all these amazing pieces of wisdom as well. I just, again, like I said, I don't want to hold you up from just me talking, but just as a bit of a review for people who are out here and watching and tuning in as well. Jolene, I really would like to know a little bit more about the process that you go through to create your own products, because it says barrel aged, and I know that's definitely your own personal secret, but could you walk us through a little bit of it, just because it's such a unique flavor and experience. I find that
Mhm.
I just want to know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I mean, look at there's no I mean, I don't want to say secret recipe. It's a natural aging process, and the industry itself has been gravitating towards transformation and added value. So initial research into the industry is where it kind of took me to the idea, because there was other similar products out there. It's not necessarily well, it's new to us because we're a little bit different with our percentage of alcohol in the barrels, in the syrup. But the process is basically, we source the raw maple syrup, the finished product, from other New Brunswick local producers, and we in-house we do the transformation. The raw product is actually pumped into another barrel, the aged barrel, and it's aged for a certain amount of time. I won't say how much exactly, because each barrel is different. But with that, what happens is the syrup inside the spirit barrels, um, there's extracts that come from the oak barrels that are extracted into the syrup, and that's where the flavors come from. So that's basically the process. And then there's all the in-house, the bottling and the packaging and everything. It's a lot, very time consuming to yield 1 barrel of maple syrup into, 1,000 bottles, say.
Mm-hmm. Of
Yeah.
course. So added value is a different way of looking at it. So you're not producing your own, like you don't have trees in your backyard that you're tapping right now, but you're adding value to your product, and that's a different way of looking at your industry. So you said you had to do some research before you got there. How did you find out that was the way that you should have moved?
Well, I mean, it was when first initiated and looked into the industry, it was visiting an actual maple syrup production sugar, like it was a huge sugary that at the time thought, well, maybe, that's where we wanted to look at getting into, but realized after a tour that was quite an investment, and, financially couldn't manage that right then. So, moving forward with different research on the products and things, with maple syrup being so versatile, you can do so many things with it. We knew there was other products out there with different flavors, and so that's kind of how that came together, and an experimental process, so to speak.
Sorry, I just want to ask for a sec there, because you just said it. What other different what else can you do with maple syrup? Just because it sounds like there's a whole other set of product line that you.
So,
could
I
be
mean,
doing.
in other words, there's maple sugar, there's maple candy, there's maple cream, there's infused maple syrups with different flavors. Different companies have been doing that too. There's one big one in Nova Scotia, but I won't name their names. But there's definitely different products that are being made with maple syrup, barbecue sauces, just a ton of things that you can do. This was the easiest method that I wanted to try first, rather than getting into a bunch of R&D and tasting this and testing that, and with different recipes. This doesn't really necessarily, we're not adding anything, so it was a natural aging process, so it didn't require as much work, I guess you could say.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Sorry. Just mentioning Nova Scotia and other areas across, and you also talked about it earlier, where you were talking about like a customer in BC. How far have you expanded your reach for your product over the last couple years?
So basically, right now, I think I think there's around 80 retailers listed. They may not all be on our website right now, but we're as far west as British Columbia, Victoria. Oh, geez, I better not say, but British Columbia, and yes, right across Canada, basically. There are a couple provinces that we're not into just yet, but we've also connected with other, I want to say, subscription box companies, where they're filling their boxes with some of our product, and online platforms, online stores as well.
Yeah, I know, like the local NB box, for example, is one that I can think of off the top of my
Yeah.
head that has your guys' products in it. And supply lines for that far from, especially from New Brunswick, can be quite difficult. How do you manage some of those things?
So, I mean, courier services, right? We have a pretty good setup right now with that, and it's a little bit lengthy to sometimes get the product out there, but we've had no issues, no complaints on the other end. It's been, I guess, the risky part is, and what I'm always worried about, is it going to make it there without it getting damaged or broke in those cases. But we've been pretty fortunate that way. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I answered your question. Sorry, Jay.
No, you absolutely did, for sure. And my apologies. I've got a bit of a cold today, so my head isn't as on straight as I think it should be right now. So I know we're running out of time, but I just want to ask this last question, especially because yesterday was International Women's Day. How would you recommend we get more women involved in business and entrepreneurship?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Just let me think here.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
no,
I I think we're on the right track and in encouraging women and inspiring our youth and other women entrepreneurs just by connecting with each other and having those conversations. So I mean, there's tons of things that are happening, I think, throughout the nation and supporting our women and programs. So I think communication and sharing with others and inspiring them, supporting those ladies that are interested in moving forward. That's one goal for me. I hope that I can inspire. I hope someone will reach out someday and say, hey, can you help me? Can you give me some guidance or insight on this or that? Yeah, it's
no. Thank you so much. And like I said, I know we're running out of time, so I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, sharing your story, sharing some of your wisdom with us. I really do appreciate it. I think we've talked a lot about, again, I don't want to review again because, like I said,
no.
I've done it once already, and but just as to kind of talk about it, the early days, the growth that you've gone through, the sort of wisdom that you've gotten just by continuing to grow your business. I really do want to say thank you so much for sharing that, sharing your experience, sharing part of your culture as well, and coming to talk with us today.
Well, thank you again so much, Jay. Too. Like it's my pleasure, and I hope that something I may have said something that would help somebody else. Trying to work through a little roadblock or a barrier, but you know. And for anyone that needs to, wants to reach out if they have other questions, I am open. I'm pretty, yeah, I love to hear other people's thoughts and hear their questions if they have any too. So
Awesome.
thank you.
So I'm just going to wrap us up here. So thank you all for tuning in to the RBC Lunch and Learn series hosted by the J Herbert Smith Centre. I hope today's show was helpful for you in your entrepreneurship journey. If you have any questions about any of our programs or for our speaker, Jolene, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be sure to make that connection to you through our email at teamy@umb.ca or send us a message on Facebook. And make sure to check out Wabnaki Maple at wabnakimaple.com. So join us next week for some more entrepreneurs' journeys, and don't miss an update from us by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at UNBTME. Thank you all again for joining us, and I hope you all have a great week. And thank you so much, Jolene, for joining us today.
Great. Thank you. Have a wonderful week.